and everyone. According to my views, conflicts between the countries is the main reason that the role of UN is decreasing day by day. As we have seen, Israel, Iran and Palestine war, Indian-Pakistan war, and there have been Ukraine, Russia and Syria attack too.
But I actually agree with you, because if you have seen the UNSC, the permanent seat of the veto power has been not changed after 1945, and that are the world was second powers.
It's like all the UN has a veto powers or having a 5 permanent members: China, Russia, USA, UK and France. Due to which there is so many conflicts going on and they are not able to give a proper decision. As you can take the example of Russia and the Ukraine war. Russia is a veto power which due to which UN is not able to give a solution. These conflicts are because of why disagreements in the UN and policies are there. Will you please help me complete? These conflicts are the main reason there have been disagreements and treaties have been cancelled. Just like those treaties, like in this Valley, these conflicts create a biasness in those veto power countries. As we have seen in India-Pakistan war, UN never spoke against Pakistan, but if you have attack during Syria, UN is basically passing out statements.
On the topic of conflicts,
and that is the rising of the global probably learning because of India in world. Because of the very groups are increasing rise in the few years, like NATO, BRICS, and G20, G7 are the major groups, and they perform well as compared to UN.
All the UN cannot interfere between the internal matters of the members of the other countries. Due to which there is so many conflicts, civil wars. As you can take the example of the Syria civil war, due to which UN is not able to give a solution due to the veto power of Russia and China.
It is the force that interferes in the conflicts and helps to resolve the conflicts between the.
But the reality is that due to this conflicts, UN is not ready to have agreement, and these veto power countries have conflicts.
Now the role of UN is decreasing just because of their alternatives. There are some organizations and some organizations who are ruling, who have.
Gentlemen, I slightly disagree with you. As these new organizations are just because of the disagreements, because of these conflicts, UN is not able to have a decision. That's India is the 4th largest economy of the world, but it is not able to take a permanent membership on the UN Council because of the veto power of the China. Every time China ignores the.
I totally feel your point, because every time when the veto power is such a power, if one country from the veto powers decreases the whole the law and whole the bill, they get declined. And also this is the demand of the countries that are big developing countries wanting.
Yeah, China explained, and I try to add some points. Some countries like Russia and China, they are also want to motivate the groups like this, and they are also not support the groups of US. And the BRICS is also started national development banks in place of WHO and World Bank also.
I agree with you. The BRICS of major economies like India, Russia, China, Kazakhstan, and South Africa. And we can totally create a multipolar world because this organization contains 30% of global GDP, and the other organization is estimated. And the other organization of CDSE. It is a security operation of India, Russia and China. They often use their and some war exercises just for they are
as you all know, our countries take advantage of the ongoing conflict issues. Like you can take the example of the Israel and Gaza war. US is taking the advantage so much that you can see that US is transferring their
the welfare of the country. As we can consider as they cannot even many more consequences and resources. They have limited resources and which are not even according to me, the decreasing role of and the unfair role of the developed countries has concluded to
But those the developing countries are not able to have a part in UN just because of these conflicts. And these conflicts are getting empowered by those veto countries only, as China, Russia and America are the countries who are being benefited by these wars the most. And
back in 1945, UN is the only organization in the world, but nowadays here are so many organizations like SEO, UN, SEO, G20,
like
some conflicts like
but there is so many other organizations are just because of conflicts. If there would have no conflicts, these organizations would have made no sense. And continuing that, these veto powers make the profit the most. They try to show that they want to stop it, but countries like America fund terrorists, and they create a biasness in the UN organization.
Country like America is also trying to dominate the world. This is the reason candidates and other countries, other unions like African unions and European unions, they are also making the peacekeeping, and they are also want to not to need to support of UN also.
Developing countries like India and Brazil have no representation in the UN as in the United Nations Security Council. There has been no permanent seat for the countries like India, Brazil and Nigeria. They represent the most of the population of the world, and they are the majority there. But
I really like your point that because it adds up to my point that due to this conflicts, India and Brazil are not able to have a part in those P5 countries.
And gentlemen, as you all know, UN was made for the peace, for the making a peace between the different type of countries like North Korea, South Korea, and many countries. But in today's world, the conflict issues are increasing, like Russia, Ukraine, Gaza, Israel, and so many. And the UN members are taking the positiveness of their
I totally agree with you. But the other reason is
you have seen the USA always dominates the world, as 70% of the funds was based by the USA to WHO, and also we have seen during the COVID-19 time, USA has responded in the slowest time.
And like US economy donated to UN organization, and that's why they are
which are held between two countries as well as two another different kind of Asian nations. And these are the several parts which are going to be divided into two parts, and which is not the major cause of the.
but
that the UN was made to create peace, but and it was made after World War II so that it can create peace between the countries. But it was in World War II so that because there were just two powers, so it will not work in nowadays, because nowadays there are multiple powers in the world. Like there are many powers in the East like India, China, and some other powers are also there. So the UN is outdated because of that, and the other countries are rising because it is not getting developed. It is not getting some major reforms, so that it is not able to maintain peace in nowadays world. So that's why the other groups are rising to help it, and they do the same work very efficiently.
Due to the deficiency of the fund, as there is a conflict,
also
some people certainly refer towards that, and the question will not be which UN is not able to organize all militant forces.
After that, United Nations has failed to resolve the conflicts, as if you have seen in India and Sri Lanka, and in India, Pakistan.
As I've seen that gentleman has said about India, Pakistan, UN has already been biased towards it, as the same problem held in Palestine and Gaza, but UN was very spoken about that. And compared to India-Pakistan terrorist attacks, UN has not been that spoken about, and just because of these conflicts only, these countries like US are not willing to support India openly, as it is the country who supports terrorists and funded softly.
It's like G25 instead of 20. And that is the reason. And Inspector said.
Yeah,
And
and
I think in the
the group also have 46% world population, and the group like SEO, this has a 40% of the world population.
I agree.
If any group has a much population, so then they are much responsible for the development.
And the whole world in global crisis at the time of COVID-19, and this time rises the G20, and when the UN was
As my forward
Well, India is the fourth largest economy as well as the first increase of population.
India is fifth largest economy, and it have 1.4 billion people. But it have no permanent membership in the UN.
If you talk about India,
India has already cleared all of it. That defines that
about that.
UN is a Western-centered alliance. So I think poor representation of developing countries is main reason that
But India has already all the criteria that are presented by the UN, and also Japan, the country who is third largest in the industrial-based production, that has also been cleared the criteria of UN.
And like America is one of my favorite said that UN is being biased in wars and in some of the cases that are globally happening, that UN is being biased. So to prevent that, there are several groups that are rising as like an economy we can see G20 or for the defense forces, there is a group like so they are doing the work of UN, as because UN is being biased in some cases and is not able to maintain its
UN is a global fund that consists of 193 countries, but it also always supports USA and the largest powers of the country.
I want to talk about it is made up of 55 and it's separate also slightly separate the UN from member in from the importance. Africa has the potential to get a rapid
Just like
industrialization and
not take seriously just like natural events and natural climate change and many more. We can also say that the changes in the technology and warfare of the battle.
Talking about technology, already have so many plans about technology and global warming, but these agreements in the countries are the reason these
Accident people.
But I think
if we talk about the
Increasing of conflict issues, there is a decreasing role of the United Nations, as there is no coordination and discipline between the veto powers and the members. And the members, due to which there is no decision making process, and due to which there is a conflict for many countries.
They are included politicians. They are included just like many more side actors.
I want to talk about the African Union. It's a 55 country. It is made up of 55 African countries, and it's slightly separating the whole African continent, whole African continent with the UN intervention. I appreciate because of Africa has a, however, just because of Africa has a potential to get rapid development, it is a major threat for UN. Thank you.
Right, I appreciate your point, but however, the organization like G20, G5 and G7 and BRICS have limited representation. However, United Nations is the only organization which has nearly universal representation of 193 countries. So major reforms should be done in the countries and the fair representation.
I really appreciate this point, and I would like to wrap it up that these new organizations and the smaller countries are the reason, but the reason of these all is conflict.
Yeah,
Because of many of the
from the geopolitical gridlock and core power structure.
I think
there is a relative many cause of resources and many more. Just like we can conclude that all of the reasons which you shared.
Rising of other groups is all due to the increasing of a conflict.
Kindly subscribe DDA YouTube channel and don't forget to press bell icon.